Hi, I'm Shruti Kohli from NDTV's Just Books, and today with me is Remo Fernandes, the Remo Fernandes, or should I call you Padma Shri Remo
Oh,
Fernandes?
no. Please call me Ramon, that's all. Hi, Shruti. It's a pleasure to be here on your program.
Pleasure to have you over. And so much of earlier when we tried to log in, there was this whole internet issue, and it kept reminding me of your song Graham Bell, Graham Bell. He would rather jump into the well, but then I mean, who would we call here to jump into the well? So
Oh,
I would just expect a song from you coming out in this situation, because all your songs, as I've seen. Remo, uh, they have had this whole social and political commentary in them. And
yeah,
like
that's
your
true.
earlier music, yeah, your earlier music had the Save Goa narrative. And
Yes.
it feels like, there's a deeper sense of purpose in your work.
I think so. I think so, Shruti. I think music is not just for I love you, you love me, let's go to the disco tonight,
Absolutely.
or let's go to sleep together tonight. Music is not just for that. There's so much more you can do through it. And I grew up in the 70s, so I know how meaningful that music was, and it helped whole generations, world generations to realize a lot of things about joining the army and obeying politicians blindly. And it helped the whole world to change. So I belong to that generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that, art and music, theater, it always brings that, it touches people, it touches their emotions. So
Yes,
whenever you're
yes,
saying something through any of these media, you are reaching out to the core of, I would say human emotions or feelings. So
absolutely.
music, yes.
But I would add that it's important not to sound preachy, because the youth, especially, they have enough preaching, starting from their parents to their teachers to their religious heads, and the last thing they want to do is to put on an album or to go to a rock show and to hear some more preaching. So always,
Absolutely.
so I always try to give my messages through a lot of humor, satire, and it was funny. But at rock shows, which used to be famous for as drug, uh, I won't say centers, but the places where, if at all anybody to took drugs, they would take them at rock shows. And when the first audience, started singing along to Pack That Smack and Down with Brown, the songs I was writing at that
Yeah.
time, i- it felt great, it felt great. Um so yeah, the messages go down when they're
Talking
given with entertainment, with laughter, with humor.
Yeah, talking of these songs, it takes me back to my own childhood. And when this Graham Bell song started playing in my head, I was actually, I could picture myself cycling down as a teenager, to this lone Archie's outlet to buy an
Okay.
album, your new
Oh,
album,
wow.
So it was,
Wow.
yeah, it was those, it's always, music is always, and it always takes you to your
Yes, it
most
takes you
favorite.
back. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Music and the
Um,
smells of cooking smells
yeah,
also
aroma.
have that
Yeah,
power to just take you
absolutely.
back like
Yeah,
a flash.
like a time machine.
Yeah.
Remo, coming to your autobiography, there's
Yes.
this whole tension between being true to your art and
Yeah.
dealing with the commercial pressures of the music industry. Well,
Yeah.
today, yeah, because things were changing, and and you were so true. Even when we saw you on the stage, there was some truth and honesty that we could see out there.
Thank you.
Today, where artists are constantly shaped by trends, and then there is this whole digital algorithms that is happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
sticking to meaningful music, it can be a challenge to being true to who you are. Could it be a challenge?
Not really. I'm not to me anymore, because I don't rely on. I'm not making any money from music anymore. So especially now, there's no way that the commercial pressures would come in the way of me and my music. I just give it away for free. All the new songs I've done, I just give them out for free online on Spotify, on YouTube. People can listen to them for free. Uh, because I got tired of all the exploitation from record companies who never pay royalties. So I said, instead of being robbed by record companies, let me give it straight to the fans who are, you know, who were paying the record companies, but then the record companies would not pass on the money to
Right.
me and to a lot of other artists. So I said, why should the fat cat make more money in between? Let me give it straight to the public for free, and that's what I'm doing now. So no, so
Definitely.
those commercial pressures don't apply at all to me or to my music. To the new artists, I'm sure they do. Yes,
Oh,
and
great. Okay.
yes,
That's what, yeah, that's what, I was coming to. I mean, what about the younger generation, the new artists that you're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, the ones who are making music of the type that you have described, which is so organized and set and no, I don't mean organized. So the new artists, like the ones that you've mentioned, who are doing the kind of music which is more, uh, how should I call it, more controlled, controlled by the pressures, by the political, especially pressures, financial pressures, commercial pressures. They have to be careful. And they are being very,
Right.
very careful. So the only thing that they are free to express is sex and love. And they don't know how to make the songs one sexier than the other because it's been done and now there's no control over the
So,
lyrics, like there used to be before. Before they used to say, I want to kiss you, or I want to hold you in my arms in the moonlight. Now they're much more explicit than that.
yeah,
And
that is there. Yeah.
yeah, so how
So
far
it
can they
means,
go? This,
yeah.
everything's been said already. So each one is trying to be more shocking than the other. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
At least
So the
worldwide.
trends,
Yeah.
sorry.
At least worldwide. Maybe not in India. One doesn't dare go that far. But Bollywood has gone pretty far.
Yeah, it is going
And
far. It has
yeah,
gone far.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, whatever society, whatever circumstances, the environment that you are living in, working in, it definitely has an impact on whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking.
sure.
So, and also, it also depends, I think, on what people are looking for, the audience.
Like I told you, none of those pressures apply to me, because I'm not selling it. So I don't care who wants to live. I want people to listen to the music that I am making.
Sure.
I'm not going to make music, especially as per their tastes. I'm not catering to them. I'm catering to myself. I'm letting out the music that I want to let out, to put out, and get off my
Great.
chest. Yeah.
I think that is the honesty that we used to see, when you performed on the stage and when you sang your songs. So,
Although, yeah, thank you. Also, because on stage, I guess my act also was not choreographed or something. There was no
yeah,
rushing backstage and changing costumes after every song and coming
yeah,
and doing choreographed, dancing with the background dancers and singing at the same time, or sometimes pretending to
yeah.
sing at the same time. It was all a lot of lip sync. It goes on.
Oh, that's what we loved. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
So,
so much. And
well,
talking about, since we were talking about my book, if I may add this, in my book also, I try to be as honest as possible. With
yes, I
myself,
could
I
see.
think I have been brutal, you know,
Yeah.
because I remember when I was in college, I read this autobiography by an American filmmaker called Elia Kazan. And I found it so honest, and he was so brutal with himself, like almost like a purge. He was purging himself of all that he had done, all that he had lived through. And that book really marked me a lot. And I told myself, if I ever write my story, I'm going to be uh, as honest as he. And I tried to be, except where whatever I wrote might have hurt somebody else. For example, uh, if I was writing about a girl who's already married, and I didn't want to upset her family with her past or whatever.
Yes.
And in any case, I hardly mention names except for really, really important relationships in my life, like my ex-wife
Yeah.
and my present partner. I never mentioned any names.
Yeah.
So
I
those were
think it's
self-imposed.
yeah.
Those are self-imposed restrictions, not again, not commercial restrictions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When it comes to art, I think honesty is what adds the value to it. People can see
Absolutely.
it, even if
Yeah.
you don't mention it like in your face that hey, I'm being honest. But people
Yeah.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even on Instagram, on social media, if you see people who are influencers who are honest, they sell more than the people who might be making up certain
Yes.
things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think
And they
honesty is
don't need,
lies
and
at
they
the core.
don't need to advertise themselves and say, "I am an influencer."
Yeah. Yeah,
You'd be
absolutely. They
surprised.
just become.
You'd be surprised at the number of people who want to be influencers who
Hmm.
write to me asking me to vote for them so that they can be accepted as an influencer. I tell them, man, you are an influencer. Influence the people to vote for you. You don't have
Yeah.
to beg the people to vote for you. If you are a real influencer, influence them. I've lost some
Yes,
good friends because of that answer, but I don't
I'm
care.
sure. I'm sure. Remo, another thing that stood out in your autobiography is how music wasn't just a career for you. It seemed
How
like a
music
process,
wasn't?
wasn't just a career for you.
Yeah.
It was a process of self discovery. When we listen to your music, it feels as though each phase of your life, uh, and when I read your book, I could see it that each phase of your life reflects a different layer of understanding yourself and your place in the world. So something I think a lot of people can connect with today.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much for being so perceptive and to understand all this from my music and from my book. Yes, that's true. A person goes through life, a person goes through different stages, different realizations, different influences, of different music. Like I discovered, and I fell in love with Western classical music later on in life because when I was a kid here in Goa, I associated it with the snobbishness of the people who went for these concerts and who acted like they were superior and they understood Bach. You see, they understood Beethoven, and they God knows what. And then I suddenly realized that there was nothing to understand. You just have to feel it.
Feel it. Yeah.
Like we listen to Beethoven's Pastoral. It's a symphony he wrote about the countryside,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it can have the same effect on you as John Denver's The Country Roads, for example.
Yeah.
Because he speaks about the countryside. There are bird sounds he has created out of musical instruments, which is replicated, through musical instruments. But it's not just sound effects. The the theme itself, the music itself, is so representative of Mother Nature, of brooks and leaves, and then the storms and the change in weather. It's You just have to feel it. There's
Yeah.
nothing to
Absolutely.
understand intellectually and to be snobbish about if you can feel it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there
Remo,
was
I
a
would.
time when I
Yeah.
discovered in Western classical. Then later, when I came to study in Bombay, I was exposed to Indian music because Goa at that time, especially, was so cut off from the rest of India, culturally and socially. We hardly were exposed to Indian classical music, which I
Yeah.
discovered there. So that influenced me into starting fusion music with the rock and with the Portuguese and Brazilian kind of music I'd grown up with in Goa. So it's like painters go through their, let's say, blue period and the red period, and uh, I guess it's because of the journey through life. It's natural.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could see it in your autobiography. Remo, I would love to continue chatting. I mean, it's so difficult to end this conversation. But again, if you were talking of
We'll continue when you
algorithms.
come to Goa over a
Oh,
glass of
absolutely.
over
Yeah.
a cup of coffee or something better,
Yeah,
stronger.
sure, of course. I can't
Okay,
wait for that. But
great.
the digital algorithms, as we said,
Yeah.
they demand that we keep our conversations as short as possible
Okay.
on digital platforms. So I'll not say I'm ending it here, but thank you so much, Remo, for your time and for the conversation that we could have today. I look forward to many more conversations like this.
I too, Shruti, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure conversing with you, and I must thank you for inviting me on your show. And it was a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Remo.